rise in body or spirit and let us sing our opening hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me.
Here to Transform by Reverend Dr. David Breeden. Welcome to this place where certainty transforms to questions. This place that takes what is and imagines what can be. Welcome to this space where what was fixed begins to shift, where rigidity embraces unfolding, as we join in the dance of transformation. Welcome to this moment of change, where together we transfigure and transcend together. Good morning, my name is Crystal Norman. I am a co-chair on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. With my fellow co-chairs, Ken and Dorothy. Welcome, good morning, happy that you're here. And, am I supposed to say anything else?
Thank you, Crystal, our worship associate for today. I'm Heather Norby, the spiritual life director for this fantastic congregation, and I use the pronouns she and her. I have a few announcements because, of course, in order to build community, we need love plus connection, and that will lead to spiritual and ethical transformation. So I just ask you to remember that this is your community. Please be an active part of it by joining us in the following activities and events. Friday night, we had an ice cream brainstorming party. It was lots of fun, and we came up with lots of ideas. And we still have ice cream left, and we still have the brainstorming sheets up in the social hall. So you are welcome to enjoy the ice cream and to add to the brainstorming sheets after the service today. This Wednesday, there's no program. However, Tuesday night is the Interfaith Coalition of Polk County's panel discussion on the threats of Christian nationalism. It's at the Jewish Temple, Temple Emmanuel on Lake Hollingsworth at 6 p.m. in their sanctuary, and I will be speaking, so please come join us. Oh, I forgot, also today there's a town hall, right, Ken? All right. And so that's at about 12:30 after you've had your ice cream and you're all sugared up. Come to the town hall. The board wants to engage you in some important conversations about our future. And of course, you are all critically important to that. Next week, our Sunday service, we will welcome Mama Ashley Rose, Jason DeSaggio. He won't be in drag, but he will be here to accept UUCL's Tommy Award. This is something we've given out most every year since the 70s in honor of Cleo Thomas, and just to recognize people who do great social justice work in our community. And of course, Jason started the Rose Dynasty Center, the first LGBTQ center in Lakeland, so we are going to give him our Tommy Award, and he will be speaking as well, so I look forward to that. And then after the service, I think I'm going to do a Mabon ritual, an autumn equinox. What day? Where are we? It is autumn. Yay, it's here. So that will be after the service, after we've had snacks and all that. We can just gather back in the sanctuary if you would like, and we will bring in autumn together. So excited. Okay, and on September 29th, for all of our new folks, we will have a starting point class after the worship service. So please, if you would like to join and I haven't given you information, let me know. Okay, and two other pieces of exciting news. Every year, UUCL marches in the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade in January. This year, we're going to march, but we're going to march together with the Interfaith Coalition. So we're all going to march together. We'll each have our church t-shirts on and our own church banners, but the big banner in front will be the Interfaith Coalition of Polk County, and we're all very excited about that. So yay. I'll get us signed up and give you more details, but that's not till January. Other piece of exciting news. As you know, I'm on the Red Tent Initiative Board, which is an organization that helps people in domestic abuse situations. And I was asked on Wednesday to go to Geico for some kind of grant contest they were having, in which the employees picked an organization, a local organization that they wanted to get money for. And one of the groups of employees picked Red Tent Initiative. And there were, 8 organizations? And everybody got money. But y'all, Red Tent Initiative got the big check, $15,000. Yeah. So, super excited about that. I had the check. There's a picture of me somewhere with the big check and the lizard in the background and the employees. Yeah, it was great. Anyway, so, whew, okay. I think that's it. Of course, check your newsletter.
Yes. Read the newsletter. Let us create our sacred space by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Jen, you told me to, just pick someone.
Yes, I did.
Please, would you do us the honor of lighting our chalice? We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Let us rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
children up. We have a story today. And of course, the young at heart may join as well. Okay. Oh, it's so good to see you all. Hi. Hello, birthday boy. Today I have a story, and it is called Henry Builds a Cabin. Anybody know who Henry is? No. Bella? Henry? Henry? Yeah? Henry David Thoreau. Have you heard of Henry David Thoreau? All right, well, let's learn a little bit about this Henry David Thoreau. Henry builds a cabin. One spring day, Henry decided to build a cabin. He borrowed an axe and cut down 12 trees. Henry cut the logs into square beams. He notched the bottom beams to fit into corner posts. The corner posts fit into ceiling beams, and the ceiling beams fit into roof beams. Whew, that looks like hard work, doesn't it? Yeah. In April, his friend Emerson helped raise the beams. The work made him hungry. Henry, he said, your cabin looks too small to eat in. It's bigger than it looks, said Henry. And he led his friend to a bean patch he had planted behind the cabin. When it's finished, this will be my dining room. Dining room in the bean patch. What do you think? Why not? In May, Henry bought an old shed and took it apart. He nailed the boards on the floor, the roof, and the walls of his cabin. Henry was nailing the last board when his friend Alcott arrived. Henry, he said, your cabin looks too dark to read in. It's brighter than it looks, said Henry. And he led his friend to a sunny spot beside the cabin. When it's finished, this will be my library. What's going to be in his library if it's outside? In June, Henry put a door in front. Then he put 2 used windows in the side walls. He bought old shingles for the roof and walls. Henry was nailing the last shingle when Miss Lydia peeked in the window. Henry, she said, your cabin looks too small to dance in. It's bigger than it looks, said Henry. And he led her to the front of the cabin where a path curved down to the pond. When it's finished, this will be the ballroom with a grand stairway. On the 4th of July, Henry moved into his cabin. He ate beans in his dining room. He read in his library. And he danced down the grand stairway to the pond. When it started to rain, Henry ran back to his cabin. It's bigger than it looks, he said. This is just the room I wear when it's raining. So was Henry's house like other people's houses? No. Sure. But he spent most of his time where? Outside it? Right. Why was Henry different? Was he different than other people? Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to live like that? No? Yes? Yeah. Yeah, your own library outside? That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was really important to Henry David Thoreau, to not live like everybody else. Yeah. It was important for him to have some freedom of choice and to be able to go out into the woods and be in nature. Yeah, what do you think? Yeah. Do you think that Unitarianism invites you into freedom, into thinking for yourself? Yeah, good. That's a good yes or no question. Crystal is going to read a little bit more about Henry's cabin.
Henry David Thoreau was a real person who lived in Concord, Massachusetts, more than 150 years ago, in the woods beside a place called Walden Pond. He built a cabin. It was only 10 feet wide and 15 feet long. 10 feet.
That's it. That's as big as it was.
Just big enough for a bed, a writing desk, a table, and 3 chairs. Henry wanted his cabin to be small, so it didn't cost much money. He bought used windows and old boards and bricks, and he built the cabin himself with the help of some of his friends, instead of paying someone to build it for him. Altogether, it only cost $28.12. Can you imagine a house that only costs $28 to build? No. Henry moved into his cabin on July 4th, 1845. Before the snow came, he then built a fireplace and a chimney and plastered the walls to keep the cold air out. He lived at that pond for 2 years. The people of Concord wondered, why would Henry move to the woods away from town? He wanted a quiet place to write a book about what he loved, the wild outdoors. He kept a journal to tell about what he saw in the woods, how plants and animals changed with the seasons, when flowers bloomed and berries ripened. And his life in the woods showed people how to live happily without spending all their time just working and spending money on lots of material items. And the book Henry wrote is called Walden, and in it he says, most men appear never to have considered what a house is, and are actually, though needlessly poor in all their lives, because they think they must have such a one as their neighbors have. So, yeah, some people didn't really understand why he wanted to live the way he did, but he did it the way he wanted to. So that's Henry Builds a Cabin.
It's time for you to go out to your religious exploration classes. You may drop a stone in the water before you do so. Thank you. Our ritual of the sharing of joys, concerns, and sorrows embodies the belief that there's power in being together and in holding one another in the significant, the precious, the hard, and the joyful moments of our lives. In our Joys and Sorrows book, you are able to write any significant joy or sorrow occurring in your life that you would like for the congregation to know. It sits on the table at the entrance of the sanctuary before the service, and I read from it before we take time to participate in placing pebbles in the bowl. Let's see. Dorothy says, a joy. Her book signing yesterday was well attended and she felt heard. And Jen says that she is filled with so much joy that she and her family are surrounded by a group of people lifting them up in a time of need. We love you. We're here for you. You are now invited to come forward and place a colored stone representing your joys, concerns, and sorrows into the water. Each stone that we drop into the water represents a different thing that you might need in the midst of this moment. You may take whichever stone or stones feels right to you and drop it in the water, connecting to others, feeling the power of being together in this community. You may come forward. Judy and Paul and Kayla. And Isaiah asked for us to put a green stone in for him today. And Joshua too.
Thank you, choir. Here we gather tucked back in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We are a community of people who have arrived from many different paths, yet we seek a common goal: to bring more love to a hurting but beautiful world. As Unitarian Universalists, we aspire to reach this goal through our shared values, one of which is the value of pluralism. Pluralism is about celebrating that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We endeavor to build a pluralistic community in which we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning, embracing our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. But this community can only be built with the time, talent, and treasure of each of us. Our ushers will now pass the plates so that we may live into our value of pluralism.
Thank you all. You are each a blessing to this community. Let us take a moment to center and contemplate that which we are exploring this month, the practice of invitation. To practice invitation is to live with love at our center, inviting in all that we already love, all that we endeavor to love, and all that is difficult to love. To be a truly inviting people means going beyond simply greeting. It means also to embrace, to empathize with, to listen without judgment, to support, to continue to hold love at the center no matter how hard it is. That is invitation. Reflect on these questions for a moment. When someone presents you with new, fresh, even wild ideas, how inviting are you to those ideas? How do you practice invitation? Or do you in those instances? What gets in your way? Are you curious enough to be inviting? This month, we are exploring many questions about the practice of invitation. For as Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith writes, a question is a pursuit, an invitation to envision and explore a series of possibilities, to struggle and empathize and doubt and believe. Our Unitarian religious ancestors set great precedent for this pursuit of questioning, for envisioning and exploring possibilities. They struggled with one another and with society at large as they thought up new ideas about what it meant to be faithful and religious. They were at the forefront of free religious thought. They were at the forefront of social justice issues, inviting others to empathize with those who were oppressed and silenced, and to change how we as a country should treat other human beings, no matter gender or race. Our Unitarian religious ancestors were doubters. They doubted the doctrines and creeds of other Christian religions. But they were also believers, and they believed that humans had the moral agency and insight to make this world a better place. Our Unitarian religious ancestors were optimistic. They saw beauty in this world and the great potential for human beings to revere that beauty so that we may bring about a peaceful heaven on this earth, right here and right now. Let us honor them now by singing Ralph Waldo Emerson's We Sing of Golden Mornings, which is hymn number 44.
Sing of flashing sun.
the early 19th century, Unitarianism in America had well-established roots in the New England region. The Unitarians had split off from the Congregational churches over the belief that God is one, that Jesus is not divine, but rather an example of how to live a moral life, and the rejection of other doctrinal beliefs such as original sin and eternal damnation. The early Unitarians were very strongly spiritually compelled to search for truth, to accept the findings of science in that search, and to establish a rational religion firmly grounded in a freedom of conscience. But a free religion must always expect that new ways of knowing and thinking will arise and challenge the status quo. Enter the transcendentalists. And now a short skit-like thing adapted from Patrick Brown's article, The Transcendental Club, at historicaldigression.com.
I invite you now to travel back in time with me to September 8th, 1836, the day of Harvard College's 200th anniversary celebration. It was a momentous occasion for the college. More than 1,100 alumni gathered at University Hall by 10 a.m. and that morning, and then proceeded across the street to the Unitarian Church, where a service of nearly 3 hours took place. The Unitarian movement is well connected to the history of Harvard. After the church service, alumni paraded across Harvard Yard to a great pavilion and amphitheater, which had been set up for the occasion. During dinner, many speeches were given. And then there were toasts, and more toasts. Cheers. So many individuals, possibly motivated by the free-flowing wine, lined up to give toasts. That college president, Josiah Quincy, had to cut off the festivities at 8 o'clock as it was growing dark. At some point during all of this pomp and circumstance, 4 of the attendees grew tired of the proceedings. Amid all this droning retrospection, they desired some conversation that was new, revolutionary, deeper, and broader. And it wasn't just the conversation of the day that they found tedious, but the entire atmosphere that pervaded Harvard and even their Unitarian churches. The intellectual climate had grown stale and resistant to new thinking. The 4 companions left Harvard Yard, crossed Harvard Square, and sat down in Willard's Hotel. Built in 1797, it was a landmark. This building, wrote historian Dwayne Hamilton Hurd in 1890, was the resort of the moderns, the less advanced people. That is, I think, to say it was the hangout of a younger generation. The 4 sat down and began to discuss the discouraging state of thinking in Cambridge, in the Unitarian churches, and indeed in America at large. All 4 were young, each of them struggling with conventional ideas on religion and philosophy. 3 of them were Unitarian ministers, and the 4th had been a Unitarian minister but resigned a few years prior. Some of them, quite recently, had been writing groundbreaking works, defying convention. Their conversation soon turned to the concept of organizing a series of symposia, or a club, or something, that would be devoted to discussion and debate on new thinking. Who were these 4 young Unitarians that began this so-called club, this movement away from the conventions of the day? Let's meet them briefly.
I am Reverend I am Reverend George Putnam, 29 years of age and born in Sterling, Massachusetts. I graduated from Harvard in 1826 and then spent a year teaching at a fledgling private academy in Duxbury. It was there that I was encouraged by my mentors to attend Harvard's Divinity School. I graduated in 1830. Later that year, I was ordained minister at the First Church in Roxbury, a position I retained for 42 years until 1872, when I fell ill. It was said of me that I was clear in thought, wise in counsel, eloquent in speech, fervent in appeal, large by nature, comprehensive by reflection, a rare and subtle genius.
I am Reverend George Ripley, 34 years old and born in Greenfield, Massachusetts. I graduated in Harvard's class of 1823 and went on to graduate Harvard Divinity School in 1826. That same year, I was ordained as minister of Boston's Purchase Street Church. Just a few months prior, I had published Schleiermacher as a theologian in the Christian Examiner, an influential Unitarian publication, promoting the philosophies of German theologian Friedrich Schleiermacher, who had died just 2 years earlier. My paper praised Schleiermacher's concept of the religion of the heart, based in intuition and personal communication with God. This defied the conventional concepts of religion in New England. About a year after this first meeting of the Transcendentalists, I will deliver a scathing sermon critiquing the inordinate pursuit, the extravagant worship of wealth, and name it as the major problem of this country, putting me on the path towards socialism. I will be the founder of the very short-lived utopian community, Brook Farm. Its failure will devastate me, but I am resilient and will become respected in society once again so that I may help establish the National Institute of Literature, Art, and Science in 1869.
I am Ralph Waldo Emerson, age 33. I was born in Boston, and today I am the odd man out, as I am the only one without a pulpit. But my career began brilliantly. I graduated with a Harvard class of 1821 at age 18, a younger age than any of the others at this meeting. I graduated from the Divinity School and was ordained as junior pastor at Boston's Second Church in 1829. Tragically, however, my promising career as a minister was disrupted when my young wife died in 1831. I wrestled with those big religious questions, and that led me to resign my ministry in 1832. By 1836, I regrouped and embarked on a career as a lecturer and writer. My first book, Nature, emphasizing the divine connection between man and all things in the natural world, is due for publication tomorrow, the day after this meeting. Everybody buy my book. Influenced by Immanuel Kant, Kant? The German philosopher, yeah. I explain in my book how every idea has its source in natural phenomena and that the attentive person can see those ideas in nature. Essential to transcendentalism is the idea that intuition will allow us to disregard external authority, creeds, and dogma, and to rely instead on direct experience. I will go down in history as one of the most well-known transcendentalists.
I am Reverend Frederick Henry Hedge, born in Cambridge. I am 31 years old. I graduated from Harvard's class of 1825 and the Divinity School's class of 1828. I accepted a ministry in West Cambridge in 1829. Then, just a year prior to this meeting, I took the pulpit in Bangor, Maine, and had to move away. This club that we are here to form today will therefore take great pains to schedule most of our meetings for when I am visiting Boston from Bangor. For that reason, the club will sometimes be referred to as Hedges Club. It is I who articulates best our collective dissatisfaction with the Harvard mode of thought. There is, I wrote, a rigid, cautious, circumspect, conservative tang in the very air of Cambridge, which no one who has resided there for any considerable time can escape. However, I will soon fade from the forefront of the movement through my own caution, about changing or abandoning the structure of the church. It's not my style, but okay. I am ecclesiastically concerned. I am very, very, very conservative, though intellectually radical. Thus, in the way of protest on behalf of deeper and broader views, a club was born to the Transcendentalists. But what do you call it? As I said, it was called Hedges Club, of course.
I think we should call it the Brotherhood of the Like-Minded.
How about the Aesthetic Club?
Let's just call it the Transcendental Club.
Yeah, yeah. Good job.
You're all stars. Thank you, young early transcendentalists. There is no record of the specifics of their discussion at Willard's Hotel on that September day, but they resolved to launch their club, whatever they called it, and they didn't really have an official name for it, 11 days later, on September 19th. And the club held its first official meeting at the home of George Ripley in Boston. 10 people attended. So today we are honoring this important event in Unitarian and American history. Over time, members included Bronson Alcott, Theodore Parker, Elizabeth Peabody, Henry David Thoreau, Margaret Fuller, and Orestes Brownson, among others. According to Emerson biographer Robert D. Richardson, the club was gathered at a pivotal moment, just as a number of its members were breaking into print. The club was a forum for new ideas, a clearinghouse full of yeast and ferment, informal, open-ended, far from the usual exclusive social clique conveyed by the word club. The meetings rotated between locations, often the members' houses, and often centered on a single topic, such as American genius, the causes which hinder its growth and give us no first-rate productions. Or, what is the essence of religion as distinct from morality? Or, the inspiration of the prophet and bard, the nature of poetry and the causes of sterility of poetic inspiration in our age and country. Or sometimes it was something simple like pantheism. The gathering certainly filled a need. Membership was not rigidly defined, and people from many different backgrounds were invited to come together if they were dissatisfied with the state of philosophy, religion, and literature in America. Some say that the Transcendentalist Club was the beginning of what might be the greatest cultural and intellectual movement in American history. That is quite a statement to make, and one might wonder how that could be, given that Transcendentalism was so hard to define that even their contemporaries were confused. On a visit to America, Charles Dickens was told that whatever was unintelligible would certainly be transcendental. And Edgar Allan Poe instructed a young author to write the tone transcendental by using small words but turning them upside down. As you can see from your order of service, Edgar Allan Poe's spirit was helping with the printing. A Baltimore clergyman noted that a new philosophy has risen, maintaining that nothing is everything in general and everything is nothing in particular. Thoreau responded with such things as, I should have told them at once that I was a transcendentalist. That would have been the shortest way of telling them that they would not understand my explanations. And Emerson declared, to be great is to be misunderstood. And so it is. As with most of the isms we've talked about recently, transcendentalism defies a neat and clean definition. The transcendentalists did not develop doctrines of belief. That would have been contrary to what they were promoting. And so what was it? What was it that these young folks were promoting exactly, besides pushback to the establishment? What they were promoting was an epistemology. In other words, a way of knowing. Epistemology asks us, how do we know what we think we know. And this is what was so radical about the Transcendentalists. They promoted the idea that we know, or at least that we should know what we know about ourselves, the nature of reality and the existence of God, through our own intuitions and not through the authority of the church, no other institutions, including the government. And so any comprehensive statement of belief was not possible. Yet, in order to know in this intuitive way, there were some generally accepted foundational truths from which they worked, such as, in a world of objective knowledge, the subjective consciousness and the conscious subject can never be left out of the reckoning. The religious spirit is a necessary aspect of human nature. The autonomous individual cannot exist apart from others. In other words, they recognized our interconnectedness and they regarded God as immanent within us and within the world and not separate. Therefore, they concluded individual intuition is the highest source of knowledge. In order to truly hear one's intuition, one must get in touch with their inner spark. This inner spark is contained in and connects all facets of nature, including humankind, and it is connected to what Emerson termed the oversoul. One cannot discover it through logical reasoning, only through intuition. Logical reasoning, of course, being what the Unitarians were doing at the time, so this was in contrast to that. Emerson said, "Standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air and uplifted into infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulating through me. I am part or parcel of God." When and if we are a transparent eyeball, we are absorbent and have the ability to feel and non-judgmentally understand our interconnectedness with all things. This is expanded upon in a reading in our gray hymnal that I invite you all now to responsively read with me. It's number 531. It's called The Oversoul. Emerson wrote it. And I want for you to listen for the invitation to use your intuition to find what is divine and sacred. And we'll read it slowly and thoughtfully. Oh, and it's on the screen too. I'll read the first part, you read the next part. Let us learn the revelation of all nature and thought, that the highest dwells within us, that the sources of nature are in our own minds.
As there is no screen or ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul where we, the effect, cease, and God, the cause, begins.
I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will I call mine.
There is a deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is accessible to us.
Every moment when the individual feels invaded by it is memorable.
It comes to the lowly and simple. It comes to whosoever will the firstborn and proud. It comes as insight. It comes as serenity and grandeur.
The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception.
Forever and ever, the impulse of its better and more universal self is new and unsearchable.
Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one.
When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breaks through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love.
Thank you. Emerson's words invite us to understand that our intuition is indeed a spark that is a part of the oversoul that speaks to us. We are invited to listen to it so we may transform our intellect, our actions, and to root ourselves in the love that calls us forward. The Transcendentalists viewed knowledge not as fixed, perpetual truths, but as temporary constructions. They insisted that all such constructions be open to the tests of continuing experience, acknowledging that the world is ordered moment by moment in our minds. This is an invitation to listen more often to that still, small voice within. The Transcendentalists propose that it is a part of human nature to express itself, that self-expression is one of the purposes of life itself, and that leads to our well-being. The movement emphasized how vital religious freedom is to our individual spiritual health, to our spiritual health as a country. And so we circled back to the statement that the Transcendentalist Club was the beginning of what might be the greatest cultural and intellectual movement in American history. Often historians write about the German and other European philosophers who influenced the young people of the Transcendentalist Club. But the movement was just as much rooted in American democracy. Transcendentalism begins in philosophical freedom and ends in democratic individualism. And while the rugged individualism that people so often associate with the movement, and especially with Henry David Thoreau, is not conducive to social cohesiveness, it served the purpose of pointing to the importance of our innate human ability to discern and define our own spiritual paths, guided by our values, and to be able to learn and grow and change our minds as we do because we continue to listen, not to static institutions, but to the always flowing universal beauty that is within our reach. Historian Martin Bickman writes, "Transcendentalism remains in American life less as a specific doctrine than as the presiding spirit behind many movements resisting the dominant culture. At its core, Transcendentalism was a youth movement, making eloquently obvious one of the first generation gaps in American history. Emerson contrasted the party of hope with the party of memory. We're still living in this dynamic. Sounds familiar, right? Based on the foundational American assumption that the future can be better than the past through imagination and effort, the Transcendentalists envisioned a culture that would foster further acts of culture making, a community that would also liberate the individual, a way of thinking that would also become a way of doing." So when the Christian nationalists of today utter their battle cry of, "We need to take America back," we might ask, back to what? I might propose to the greatest intellectual movement spawned by democracy and the idea of individual liberty this country has ever seen. Maybe. But the Transcendentalists wouldn't want us to go back. They wouldn't even wanted a following. They wanted for us to move forward. As Unitarian Universalists, we need to pick up this mantle and remind the citizens of America what religious freedom looks like. We can do this through our shared values. Transcendentalism has had a significant impact on who we are and how we behave as Unitarian Universalists. And there's so much more that I couldn't cover today. But Transcendentalism proposed an epistemology, a way of knowing that is deeply personal, inviting us to not only trust our intuitions more, but to honor and learn from the intuition of others. And so we've arrived at new shared values, and we can hear the echoes of Transcendentalism in these values. In interdependence, we hear that we honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. In pluralism, we hear the echoes of Transcendentalism when we read that we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In our value of justice, we hear the transcendentalists when we say we covenant to dismantle racism. They were on the forefront of the abolition movement. In all forms of systemic oppression, we support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. In our value of transformation, we hear them when we read, openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. And we hear them in our value of generosity when we say we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. And in equity, when we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Thank you.
Wherever the invitation of people or on your own occasions lead you, speak the very truth as your life and conscience teach it, and cheer the waiting, fainting hearts of people with new hope and new revelation. Adapted words by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Our closing hymn is number 1058, Be Ours a Religion.
Written by Transcendentalist Theodore Parker.
Theodore Parker. Teal. We will now extinguish our chalice. Yes, thank you. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.